before anyone understood how it all began, there was a moment where a girl stood in the rain, barefoot, shaking, with blood on her lip and tears mixing with the storm. And the man who was supposed to protect her was the one who pushed her out. But that night didn't start in the rain. It started in a village called Kachiri, a place where the earth was always dry, the wind carried dust like secrets, and survival was a daily battle people never spoke about. In that village lived a girl named Zainab. She was 21. But her silence made her seem much older. Zainab didn't laugh like other girls. She didn't gossip at the well. She didn't dream out loud, because life had taught her early. Dreams were dangerous. They gave you hope, and hope, in her world, was something that always got punished. Her mother died when she was 16. Not from sickness, from stress. That was what the old women whispered, because living with Alhaji Karim, Zainab's father, was like living with a ticking bomb. Before his wife died, he was strict. After she died, he became something else entirely. A man ruled by anger, by alcohol, by bitterness. And just when Zainab thought life couldn't get worse, he brought another woman home. Her name was Ruqayyat, beautiful on the outside, poison on the inside. From the very first day, Ruqayyat made it clear, Zainab was not a daughter in that house. She was labor. She woke before the first call to prayer, fetched water from a well miles away, cooked for everyone, cleaned until her fingers cracked, and worked on the farm till sunset. And food was a privilege, not a right. Many nights, she went to bed with her stomach tight and empty, listening to her father and his new wife laughing over a meal she cooked. Villagers knew. They always knew. But in Kachiri, people minded their business, because interfering in another man's home could cost you more than your pride. It could cost you your safety. So Zainab suffered quietly, until the day a stranger arrived. His name was Malik. He came into the village like someone who had lost his way. Dust-covered clothes, simple sandals, a small bag slung over his shoulder, but there was something off about him. He didn't move like a man who was defeated. He moved like someone watching everything, calculating, learning. He asked for work, and of course, Alhaji Karim took him. Cheap labor was something he never refused. For weeks, Malik worked on the farm, harder than anyone else. He didn't complain, didn't argue, didn't even talk much. But he noticed things. He noticed how Zainab avoided eye contact, how she flinched at sudden movements, how her hands trembled even when she was still. He noticed the bruises she tried to hide, and the silence she used as armor. One evening, under the dying sun, he finally spoke to her. "You don't talk much," he said quietly. Zainab kept working. Talking doesn't change anything. Malik studied her for a moment. "Sometimes it does." She shook her head. "Not here." That was the longest conversation they had. But from that day, something shifted. He started watching more closely. And she started noticing him too. Not in a romantic way. No, in a different way. For the first time in years, someone saw her. Then came the day everything broke. It was market day. Hot. Tense. The kind of day where tempers rise quickly. Malik had worked for almost 3 months without a single payment. Not even a promise that sounded real anymore. So that afternoon he walked into the compound. Straight. Calm. Certain. "I want my money," he said. Alhaji Karim laughed. A slow, mocking laugh. "Money?" he repeated. "For what?" "For my work." The laughter stopped. "What work?" Karim snapped. "You eat here. You sleep here. That is your payment." Malik didn't move. "You said you would pay me." "And I said many things," Karim replied carelessly. Silence stretched. Then, something dangerous entered Malik's voice. "I'm not leaving without what I earned." That was when Karim stood up, anger flashing in his eyes. For a moment, it looked like he would hit him. But then, his expression changed. Slowly, wickedly. He turned his head and looked at Zainab. She was by the corner, washing plates, unaware that her life was about to be traded like an object. A smile crept onto his face. "You want payment?" he said softly. Malik frowned. "Yes." "Then take her." The words landed like a slap. Zainab froze. The plate slipped from her hand and shattered. Malik blinked. "What?" "My daughter," Karim said, pointing at her like she was nothing. "Take her. That's your payment." "No," Zainab whispered. "Please, Baba, no." "Shut up," he barked. Ruqayyat stepped forward, arms folded, eyes cold. "Let her go," she said. "She's just wasting food anyway." Zainab's knees hit the ground. She crawled forward, shaking. "Please, I'll work harder. I'll do anything." Nobody moved. Nobody stopped it. Malik looked at her. Really looked this time. And what he saw was not just a broken girl. It was someone who had never been given a chance to live. Something in his chest tightened. This wasn't right. None of it was. He turned back to Karim. "You're serious? Take her or leave empty-handed," Karim said bluntly. The air became heavy. Time slowed. Zainab's breath came in short bursts, her entire future hanging on a stranger's decision. Malik exhaled slowly, then said, "I'll take her." Zainab's world went silent, just like that. No goodbye, no prayer, no protection. She packed her things into a small nylon bag with trembling hands. Nobody hugged her. Nobody stopped her. The only person who cried was her little brother, Yusuf. He stood behind the hut, wiping his face with his shirt. Will you come back? He asked. Zainab forced a smile she didn't feel. Inshallah. But deep down, she knew some journeys don't come back. As they walked out of the village, the sun setting behind them, Zainab didn't look back, because there was nothing behind her worth seeing. Only pain, only memories she wanted to forget. The road ahead was long, uncertain, dangerous. She was walking into the unknown, with a man she didn't know, to a place she had never seen. And as the night slowly crept in, Zainab whispered a quiet prayer in her heart. Ya Allah, please, don't let this man be worse than the one I'm leaving behind. Beside her, Malik walked in silence, his face unreadable, but his mind was already planning something much bigger than she could ever imagine. And far away, in a city filled with secrets, a truth was waiting, one that would change everything. The road did not end that night. It stretched into hours, then into exhaustion. By the time the first signs of the city appeared, Zainab's legs felt like they no longer belonged to her. The air itself had changed, thicker, louder, restless. Nothing in Kachiri had prepared her for this. Cars moved like angry beasts. People rushed like they were being chased by time. Voices overlapped. Horns screamed. Engines growled. Zainab clutched her small bag tightly, her eyes darting from one unfamiliar sight to another. Stay close, Malik said calmly. She nodded without speaking. They entered a narrow street lined with tall buildings that seemed to touch the sky. Zainab tilted her head upward, overwhelmed. Do people really live inside these? She whispered. Malik almost smiled. Yes. They stopped in front of a quiet compound hidden behind a tall gate. It didn't shout wealth. It whispered it. Clean walls, trimmed hedges, security lights even in daylight. Malik knocked once. The gate opened almost immediately. The uniformed guard stepped aside respectfully. Zainab noticed something strange. He greeted Malik with a nod. Not the kind given to strangers, but the kind given to someone known. Her brows tightened slightly, but she said nothing. They walked through the compound in silence. At the center stood a large house, simple in design but elegant. Not crowded with decorations, yet everything looked expensive. Zainab slowed her steps. Are we working here? She asked quietly. Something like that, Malik replied. He didn't stop at the main building. Instead, he led her toward a smaller structure at the back. A self-contained apartment, one bedroom, a sitting area, a kitchen. Zainab stepped inside slowly. Her breath caught. It was too clean. The floor shone. The bed had neatly arranged sheets. The air smelled fresh. No smoke, no dirt, no shouting. She touched the edge of the table like she expected it to disappear. This is where we'll stay? She asked. For now, Malik said. She turned to him, confusion clear on her face. You're a worker here, but you live like this? He shrugged lightly. The owner is kind. Zainab didn't fully understand, but she didn't question it, because for the first time in years, she felt something unfamiliar. Peace. That night, she slept on a bed, not a mat, not the cold floor, her real bed. And for the first time in years, she didn't wake up in fear. Morning came gently. No shouting, no insults, just the quiet sound of something frying. Zainab opened her eyes slowly, unsure if she was dreaming. She followed the smell into the small kitchen. Malik stood there, focused, flipping something in a pan. He looked up briefly. You're awake. She blinked. You cook? Sometimes. She stood there, unsure what to say. Nobody had ever cooked for her before. They ate in silence. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was calm. After the meal, Malik wiped his hands and looked at her. Get ready. I want you to meet someone. Her heart skipped. Who? You'll see. Zainab went back inside, her mind racing. She didn't own much, just the few clothes she came with. She picked the neatest one she had and wore it carefully. When she stepped out, Malik looked at her for a second longer than usual. Let's go. They walked toward the main house. Each step made her more nervous. Something about this place didn't feel ordinary. The door opened before they knocked. A woman stood there. Late 50s, calm eyes, presence that filled the room without effort. She studied Zainab for a moment, then smiled. So this is her. Zainab lowered her gaze respectfully. Good morning, Ma. The woman stepped closer. Up close, her eyes were sharp, observant, kind, but not naive. You're welcome, she said gently. What's your name? Zainab. She nodded slowly. Beautiful name. Malik stood quietly beside her. This is the girl I told you about, he said. The woman's gaze returned to Zainab. And you brought her here, like this? There was something hidden in that question, something Zainab didn't understand. Malik answered calmly. Yes. A brief silence passed. Then the woman stepped aside. Come in. Zainab walked in slowly. Everything inside felt controlled. Nothing out of place, nothing unnecessary. The woman gestured for her to sit. What can you do? She asked. Zainab hesitated. I can cook, clean, anything. The woman tilted her head slightly. Anything? Zainab nodded. Yes, Ma. The woman leaned back, studying her. not judging, evaluating. Then she smiled faintly. We'll see. Days passed. Zainab adjusted quickly. She cleaned the apartment, cooked meals, organized everything. But what stood out was how Malik treated her. He never raised his voice, never gave harsh commands, never made her feel small. Even when she made mistakes, he corrected her gently. One evening, as the sun dipped low, she finally spoke what had been sitting in her chest. Why are you like this? Malik looked up from where he sat. Like what? She hesitated. Kind. He held her gaze for a moment. Is that strange to you? Zainab swallowed. Yes. Silence filled the room. Then she looked down. I thought, when my father gave me to you, my life was over. Malik didn't interrupt. I thought you would treat me worse, that I would just move from one suffering to another. Her voice trembled slightly. But you didn't. She wiped her hands nervously. You gave me space. You respect me. You see me. Malik exhaled slowly. You deserved that from the beginning, he said. Zainab shook her head. Not where I come from. He stood up and walked closer. Then maybe where you come from was wrong. She looked up at him. For the first time, there was something different in her eyes. Not fear, not pain, something softer. Something growing. A week later, everything shifted again. Zainab was in the kitchen of the main house. The older woman had asked her to help prepare a meal. Zainab worked carefully, focused. Then she felt it. A presence. Someone watching. She turned. A young man leaned against the doorway, well-dressed, confident, eyes fixed on her. Too fixed. Wow, he said slowly. So this is the girl. Zainab straightened immediately. Good afternoon, sir. He ignored the greeting, walked in slowly, circling slightly, like he was studying something valuable. You're even more beautiful up close, he said. Zainab's grip tightened on the knife. Thank you, sir. He smirked. Drop the sir. My name is Fadil. I'm fine with sir, she replied quietly. He chuckled. I like you already. Zainab didn't respond. She turned back to her cooking, but she could still feel his eyes, burning, measuring, calculating. After a moment, he leaned closer. You know, girls like you don't belong in kitchens. Her heart began to beat faster. I'm comfortable here, she said. He laughed softly. No, you're surviving here. There's a difference. She said nothing. Then his voice dropped lower. I can change your life. Zainab froze. Something about the way he said it didn't sound like help. It sounded like a trap. And deep inside her, a warning began to rise. Zainab didn't turn to face him immediately. Her hands remained steady over the pot, but inside her chest something had shifted. Not fear, not anymore. It was awareness, the kind that comes from surviving too much. I'm not looking for my life to be changed, she said calmly. Fadil smiled behind her. Everyone is. He stepped closer. Too close. I can send you abroad, put you in the best schools, give you money, comfort, anything you want. Zainab slowly placed the spoon down. Then she turned. Fully this time. Her eyes met his. Steady, clear. And what do you want in return? Fadil's smile widened. You're smart. He leaned against the counter. I want you. Silence. The air grew heavy. Zainab didn't flinch. I belong to someone already, she said. Fadil scoffed lightly. That security boy? He said dismissively. You think that's a future? Zainab's expression didn't change. He's not just anything, she replied. He's everything I have. Fadil shook his head, amused. You're wasting yourself. Or maybe, she said quietly, you don't understand value. That hit something. His smile faded slightly. You'll regret this, he said. Zainab stepped back, creating distance. No, she replied. I won't. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Then Fadil pushed himself off the counter. This isn't over, he muttered before walking out. Zainab exhaled slowly. Her hands trembled now. But her decision didn't. That evening, she sat outside the small apartment, waiting. The sky was dim, painted with fading light. When Malik returned, he noticed immediately. You're quiet, he said. Zainab looked up. He came to me again. Malik's expression hardened slightly. What did he say? She told him everything. Every word, every offer, every threat hidden behind promises. When she finished, silence settled between them. Malik's jaw tightened. And what did you say? He asked softly. Zainab met his eyes. I chose you. Something in Malik's expression broke, not in weakness. In emotion, he stepped closer. Do you understand what you're rejecting? He asked. Yes. And you're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Malik pulled her into an embrace. Tight. Real. Thank you, he whispered. Zainab closed her eyes. You gave me dignity, she said softly. I won't trade that for comfort. That night, something deepened between them. Not rushed, not forced, but real. The next morning, Zainab made a decision. She walked straight to the main house, knocked, and waited. The older woman opened the door. Her eyes immediately scanned Zainab's face. You've come with something on your mind, she said. Zainab nodded. Yes, ma. They sat. The room felt heavier than before. It's about your son, Zainab began. The woman's expression didn't change. Go on. Zainab spoke carefully, respectfully, but firmly. She explained everything. The words, the offers, the pressure. When she finished, silence. Long, deep. The woman leaned back slowly, then sighed. My son has always taken what he wants, she said quietly. Zainab's heart sank slightly, but that doesn't make it right. Zainab looked up, surprised. The woman's eyes met hers, sharp now. You did well to refuse him. Relief washed over her. But, the woman continued, you've also created a problem. Zainab frowned. Ma? My son doesn't like rejection. Before Zainab could respond, a voice came from behind. She's right. They both turned. Fadl stood at the doorway, eyes cold. You think saying no ends things? He asked. Zainab stood up slowly. I've made my decision. Fadil laughed. No, you made a mistake. The older woman stood as well. That's enough, she said firmly. But Fadil didn't move. I can remove that boy from this house today, he continued, staring directly at Zainab, and you'll have nowhere to go. Zainab's heart pounded, but she didn't step back. Then we'll leave, she said. The room went still. Fadil narrowed his eyes. You'd throw everything away for him? Zainab didn't hesitate. Yes. The older woman watched her carefully, something unreadable in her gaze. Then slowly, she spoke. Enough of this. Her voice carried authority now, the kind that doesn't repeat itself. Fadil exhaled sharply and stepped back, but his eyes remained on Zainab. This isn't finished, he said again. Then he left. Zainab walked out of the house with her head high, but inside, her heart was racing. That evening, she told Malik everything. Every word, every threat. This time he didn't stay calm. This has gone too far, he said. Zainab stepped closer. Then let's leave. He looked at her. Leave? Yes, she said firmly. I don't want to stay where we are not respected. Malik studied her face. You're willing to start from nothing again. Zainab smiled faintly. I'm not starting from nothing, she said. I have you. Silence. Then Malik nodded slowly. All right. He walked inside, came back moments later, and placed something on the table. Bundles of money. Zainab froze. Her eyes widened. Where did you get this? Malik didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at her. Long, deep. Then he sighed. There's something I should have told you a long time ago. Zainab's heart skipped. What is it? He stepped closer. Fadil is not just the woman's son. She frowned. What do you mean? Malik held her gaze. He's my brother. The room spun. Zainab blinked. What? And the woman you've been calling Ma, he continued quietly, is my mother. Silence crashed over everything. Zainab took a step back. No, that's not possible. I didn't lie to hurt you, he said quickly. I needed to know if someone could choose me without knowing what I have. Her breathing became uneven. So all this time, you were testing me? Not like that, he said. I was protecting myself. Zainab turned away, processing, feeling everything at once. Anger, shock, confusion. You should have told me, she said quietly. I know. You let me suffer their behavior without saying anything. I was waiting for the right moment. She turned back to him. And when is the right moment to tell your wife the truth? He had no answer. Silence stretched. Then slowly Zainab exhaled. I'm angry, she admitted. I know. But, she continued, her voice softening, I understand. He looked up. You do? She nodded. Because I've also lived a life where trust was dangerous. Malik stepped closer. I'm sorry. Zainab studied him for a moment, then said, You owe me. He blinked. What? She crossed her arms slightly. A new beginning. No lies. No secrets. A small smile appeared on his face. Done. She hesitated, then added, and maybe a better house than this. He laughed, relief filling the air. That one is easy. The truth didn't stay hidden for long. Within days, everything changed. Zainab moved from the small apartment into the main house. But this time, not as a worker, as family. Fadil kept his distance, not out of respect, but because he finally understood. He had lost. Completely. The older woman treated Zainab differently now, not just with kindness, but with pride. You chose correctly, she told her one afternoon. Zainab smiled softly. I chose peace. Years passed, not quickly, but meaningfully. Zainab went back to school, studied harder than she ever thought possible. Every sleepless night, worth it. Every struggle, building something real. Until one day, she stood on a stage, wearing a white coat, hearing her name called. Dr. Zainab Karim, the girl who was once treated like nothing, now stood as something undeniable. In the crowd, Malik clapped the loudest, pride written all over his face. That's my wife, he said, not caring who heard. Zainab walked into his arms after the ceremony, with tears in her eyes. We made it, she whispered. He smiled. No, he said softly. You did. Later that evening, he took her on a drive. They stopped in front of a large house. Elegant, peaceful. Yours. He handed her the keys. Zainab stared at him. You remembered. I remember everything. She laughed through tears, then paused. I have something too. He raised a brow. What is it? She placed his hand gently on her stomach. I'm not alone anymore. Silence. Then realization hit. His eyes widened. Zainab. She nodded. Yes. He pulled her into a tight embrace, overwhelmed. grateful, changed from being thrown away to becoming everything. Zainab closed her eyes and whispered, "I was never nothing, I was just in the wrong place." And now, she was exactly where she belonged.